This issue is a simulation for you to restore the 1992 Wuhan Airlines crash air disaster. Let's rewind the time to October 8, 1992, this day at about 14:15 in the afternoon, in Gansu Lanzhou Zhongchuan Airport, Wuhan Airlines Flight 4211 was checking in. This flight is on a direct mission today. It was a charter flight from Lanzhou to Xi'an. At this time there were 35 people on the plane, including 28 passengers, 7 crew members. The passengers are all tourists traveling to Xi'an. The direct flight is of 124 horsepower. The aircraft has a long life. It had been flying for 34 years. Many parts of the aircraft have aged. This plane is, strictly speaking, is no longer suitable for long-distance flight, however. The management of the airline at that time was extremely chaotic and loose. Even the head of the company was appointed through connections. This director knew nothing about the management of the airline. He ignored the rules and regulations of the company. Basically, he had a monopoly in the company. In addition, at that time, there were very few parts available for aircraft replacement and maintenance, so some of the old parts on the aircraft were not replaced as scheduled. When the crew learned that the plane was flying to Xi'an, they became anxious and worried, but they didn't dare not to fly the mission assigned from above. Therefore, the crew boarded the plane with fear and trepidation. The flight was a long-haul charter flight. After checking in, the crew began to start the engine and slowly taxi to the runway. At 14:20 p.m., the plane took off smoothly from Zhongchuan Airport in Lanzhou, Gansu Province. Then it started to climb slowly along the scheduled route. If there is no accident, the plane will arrive at Xi'an Airport in 2 hours. After a period of flight, it has arrived over Dingxi, Gansu Province. Suddenly the cockpit instruments showed a warning display indicating that the left engine was malfunctioning. The left engine stopped running and lost power instantly. The captain immediately contacted the tower, reported to the tower the danger encountered on the aircraft, left engine failure, and asked the tower to request a forced landing at a nearby airport. The crew looked at the map for a while, prepared to land at Yuzhong Airport. The tower received the request from the crew and agreed to the request. Then the crew started to control the plane hard, maintaining the balance of the plane, started to turn around and fly to Yuzhong Airport. Then the tower contacted the crew again. The crew was told to pay attention to the flight altitude, do not go below 3 kilometers. Because there are many big mountains along the landing route with high altitude. If the flight altitude is too low, it is easy to hit the mountains and crash. The crew said they understood. But what caught the crew off guard was the induced engine also failed. It's like a leak in the night. However, the good thing is that the decoy engine did not lose power completely. Still can provide a weak power. But the can no longer maintain the plane's altitude. The plane began to descend uncontrollably. In a short time, the altitude of the plane reached 2,200 meters. It was far below what the tower had told us. Do not go below 3,000 meters, but this cannot be helped. Both engines had failed. The plane had lost lift. It's impossible to gain altitude again. It's impossible to land at Yuzhong Airport. The tower kept reminding the crew, we can't descend any further. Because there were hillsides all around, the crew was desperately trying to control the plane. After a brief discussion, they made a reluctant decision to land the plane on a nearby hill. We have seen many cases of landing on the plane, but it was the first time I heard of a forced landing on a mountain. This time, the plane was in front of a mountain. The height of the slope is about 2,300 meters. It was more than 100 meters higher than the plane's cruising altitude. The plane had lost power. It was definitely impossible to fly over this hill. The captain shouted, watch your altitude, attention to altitude. The co-pilot immediately replied that it seemed impossible to fly over, prepare for forced landing. The crew immediately lowered the landing gear and wings, slightly adjusting the nose of the plane, looking for a slightly flatter terrain. 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters. 10 meters. The moment the plane landed, landing gear and wings all broken, then began a high-speed forward dive. Because this aircraft is a relatively large spirit, impact resistance is weak. Dive a distance after the direct explosion and disintegration. The accident resulted in the death of 14 people on board and 21 people miraculously survived. Most of those who died were not wearing seat belts during the landing process. From a technical point of view, the crew did their best to make the plane land in a smooth manner. However, 14 people were killed. The cause of the accident: the air. Using old aircraft for long-haul flights, old parts were not regularly maintained and replaced. The left magneto of the aircraft, high-voltage conductive column insulation, was broken. The nozzle failed to ignite, causing the left engine to stop. Later, the right engine did not work properly either. The aircraft lost power. Finally, it had no choice but to land on a hillside. Finally, I hope this kind of thing will not happen again.